Bye.
Hi, I'm Rand, and I've been an HR consultant for many years and retired. And now I have started my new HR, and that is my new happy retirement, documenting my life in retirement. Listen, I wanted to put out a video about art and about how I've come to the point of creating a sculpture that I'm working on. It's a large sculpture made out of a log. You can look at some of the other videos that I've done and get an idea of where I am with that. But I thought it'd be good to show how I came to the point of designing the current sculpture that I'm working on, of which I've made a couple of other videos. I'm also throwing in there a few landscapes that I've done, as well as just some old self-portraits to let you know that before I was a retiree, I was young. And I think that's a good thing for all people to remember, especially younger people, that one day you will be old, and we should treat the elderly with respect. Because as I reach that age of being elderly, and I feel like I'm approaching that, I have far more compassion and patience with those folks, and I also believe that they have something to share with everyone if we will take the time to listen to them. So that's just some of my thoughts. Anyway, I'm going to do mostly a narrative since this is mostly photographs, and end with a short video about the sculpture, so that it kind of catches people up to what's going on. But it'll also show the design, the actual measurements that I'll be using on the sculpture, as well as a piece of art that shows that design. That is the design. It's design, but it is art. And I want to show you that as well. Okay, hope you enjoy, and again, welcome to my new HR. So I had a professor who didn't like my minimalistic art, and he said, before you do another drawing that looks like a bunch of lines, I want you to draw a photoreal picture of a face. And so I did, and turned it in the next day. And anyway, I feel somewhat like that now, that as I'm doing the simplistic sculpture, it's not simplistic, that I need to show you a little bit of art. And so you're looking at a landscape of a golf course at sunset that's near my house. I gave this to my son. The next one up will be it's a landscape of a sunset at a friend's house that I love dearly. It's actually a couple that I love dearly up in Vancouver, British Columbia. And so precious people that I gave that to. That was taken off of their back porch. Again, at a back porch of another friend, here's another sunset that I took out south in central Missouri. This next one is actually, it's just a cloud. I took a photo of a cloud off of a pier in Pensacola, Florida, and it just inspired me to paint a cloud. And so that's a painting of a cloud. This next sculpture is where I start using mixed media and talking about bringing multiple types of media into a single object, where multiplicity, diversity becomes one, and not just one, but one beautiful one. And so that really is the thesis of my art, is that multiplicity is reconciled in unity, that the many become one, that diversity is powerful. And when you bring it together into one unified unit, it creates a powerful object in terms of art. And so that, as well as this next one that you see, is bringing together like copper, steel. The white in the middle there is actually plaster Paris, and all inlaid into black walnut. So just a beautiful piece there. The next one is where I start getting into spirals, and I actually by accident got into looking at spirals. If you look at the very bottom corner of this painting, you'll see something that's hard to see, but it's probably a 1.5 inch square little spiral that I cut out during a conference call while I was working as an HR consultant. And that little spiral sat on the corner of my desk for I don't know how long, and I looked at it often. I have a black desk, so I leaned it up against a black tape dispenser. Anyway, and I saw this beautiful shadows casted down across this spiral, and I was inspired to paint it. And so that's what I did. And it set me on this notion of spirals, and I studied spirals and thought about spirals. And if you Google spirals in the universe and how the rotation of the Earth and the orbit of the Earth around the sun is actually, it's not a circle, it's a spiral, because the sun's traveling through space and we're all traveling through space. The stinking solar system's traveling through space at 70,000 miles an hour relative to some fixed point in space. I think that fixed point is the center of the galaxy. But we're moving at 70,000 miles an hour, the sun is. And so we're revolving around the sun. And if you were to capture that, it's actually a spiral. And so time is measured in spirals, not circles. And it set me on this kind of a course of looking at spirals. And so I painted a few paintings on spirals, as you'll see here. All of those are just cut out of little squares of paper and then painted. And I think I've got 3 here. And the reflection is off of my desk. So that brings me to the sculpture that I'm working on now, which I studied spirals even more, and working on the Fibonacci sequence, have used that in this sculpture. So it is very measured in the Fibonacci sequence. You can look at it. It is starting with the unit of 0 and then 1, and then adding 0 and 1 to get 1 again. And then 1 plus 1 is 2, and then 2 plus 1 is 3, and 3 plus 2 is 5, and so you can study the Fibonacci scale, and that is what this sculpture is based on. So the interesting thing is that it's 17 and 3/4 inches wide. It is 120.75 inches tall, and I've used those measures in this sculpture to build it out. And so that goes into then a sketch of that sculpture. And this was just a raw sketch, and trying to give scale to give to the managers of El Torreon, to say, I would like to put a sculpture in your space, and this is what it would look like, and here's the scale. And so the woman is the scale to the sculpture, and I think it's actually a little bit bigger than this, that her eyesight would be, the average eyesight of a human being would actually be right at the middle of it, which was captured in that original art of the design, which will be posted hopefully next to this sculpture. So looking at this sketch of this woman and the design, then we've got an idea of what the sculpture is actually going to look like. Then I've got a video that'll play next. So the video lets you see where I am in the process. It's going to show you the wood that I'm actually using. It's 10 feet and 3/4 inch tall, and we go from there.
Okay, well, I've got it fairly well roughed out, and all the sides are relatively square to each other. I'm pretty happy with the lines. Down the center is where those stones will go. So just starting somewhere right in here. Now, those are very measured. So anyway, I will measure those stones.
And I'm including a couple of self-portraits that I did. This first one is done in 1977. I would have been 19 years old. And it's 24 inches by 36 inches, not real small. And the next one is when I was 20 years old. So that one is done in pencil, and it's about 18 by 24. followed by this photograph of me sitting on the sculpture at age 59 and a half. So we do grow old, and we do have much to share. I hope you've enjoyed this, and it's been my pleasure bringing you a little taste of the art that has brought me to the point of sitting on that log. Well, I hope that was worthwhile. Just wanted to share that with you. I thought, because I was thinking about all the spirals and everything like that, then you'd understand a little bit more of the design. And when I say it's measured, you'll understand why it's measured and that it was measured. So I just wanted to share that with you, as well as a few other fun things and paintings that I've done in the past. So again, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and if you lasted this long, more power to you, and good work. So thank you again for joining mynewHR.